Well, I guess the Nisei pretty much knew that they were going to be incarcerated in these camps. And my father told me once that he didn't do anything wrong and neither did any of us, and he was not going to spend the duration of the war in a camp.
And then came this news that you could leave on a voluntary basis if you had a place to go to, if you would not be a burden to the government, and if you could all do all this within 72 hours.
We all migrated like a caravan, just like grapes of wrath going east.
As I recall, we went directly from Los Angeles to a little, not even a town, called Black Rock, Utah.
People that went to camp, they went to the mess hall to be fed, but we had to work, otherwise we do not eat. And then they would only pay us 25 cents an hour.
I think I owe it to my parents, my uncles, to tell about this experience because they took it with them to their graves. I know they did.
Surprisingly, very few people know about this exodus of this group.
Okay, well, I'll try to tell that story.
No, really, yeah.
When I was 1 year old, the United States government forcibly removed me and my parents from our home in San Francisco. They sent us, along with 120,000 other Japanese Americans, to concentration camps where we lived for the next 3 years. My earliest memories are from life in the camps during the Second World War. Living through the trauma of displacement and incarceration as a young child has informed my work as a scholar of race, gender, and citizenship. It is only recently that I have learned about another, untold chapter of this story, that of a relatively small number of Japanese Americans, self-evacuees, who fled the West Coast just before the government forcibly removed and incarcerated the Japanese American population. Resettling in such states as Colorado, Utah, and Wisconsin, these self-evacuees had a range of experiences. Some battled poverty, isolation, and racial violence, while others were welcomed into new communities where they could rebuild their lives. All became refugees in their own country, on a forced migration into the unknown. Now their stories are being told for the first time. There was only one major wave of immigration from Japan to the United States. Between 1882, when the Chinese Exclusion Act ended all immigration from China, and the Immigration Act of 1924, which halted all immigration from Japan.
Folks were looking for new sources of labor, particularly in some of the agricultural fields, as well as a number of other kinds of occupations. And Japanese came to these shores, both in Hawaii, in the plantation economy, and in the fields of California, to occupy those niches in the economy.
As with many immigrant populations, the growing Japanese American community increasingly was seen as a rival ethnic economy and a threat to white American workers. An organized and powerful anti-Japanese movement, led by politicians, journalists, labor leaders, and others, successfully campaigned for a series of laws limiting the ability of Japanese immigrants to become citizens or marry citizens, own land, send their children to school with white children, and more.